June 24, 2026. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on 2002 chart using NinjaTrader 8. Here's what the chart looked like today. There was no economic data on the calendar to make the market really move. I managed to take one trade today, and it was a winner. And then there was maybe another trade that showed up rather late. And then there was just a bunch of things that I noticed. They were almost setups, but, well, they just kind of fell short for one reason or another, or I'm just being too conservative. So I'm going to go ahead and go chart right now. So from yesterday, this big kind of like M-shaped thing kind of continued in the pre-market, just chopped sideways. Looks like it was one leg up, maybe two legs down, then two legs up. Another move down, kind of a consolidation area, then push up, down, break, another consolidation, and into the regular trading hour open. So it starts moving. EMA is clearly, even from the pre-market up till the open, not reliable as a key entry point because you have prices moving both above and below. But it did find some kind of support consolidation area. It starts pushing up on this green up channel. Now I did try to fudge this green channel, try to make more of the price action fit, but it really didn't result in any kind of setup until about right here, which is a higher low triple test. So whether you had it drawn like this or slightly tighter, there's a break, test the high. Even if you had it this way, it still broke, test the high. And if not, it decisively tested the high here, also hit some kind of double top, well, maybe triple test resistance here, pushes down, bounces. I mean, it bounced right off the EMA, but as I said, the EMA isn't super reliable, so I can't really justify like any kind of read that this is a valid key entry point. But it bounces up, and then it gives you a definitive true triple test here and a lower high. So I thought I saw as a visual and a technical first entry short, pull back, second entry short, push up, triple test lower high, possible trade. This signal bar right here is only 3.25, so it's manageable risk. What I didn't really like or made me hesitate was I didn't like this last little pullback. There's a small little tail. So I was actually hoping for a lower high here, and it actually be a first entry long, second entry long failure. It would help confirm things, but it never showed up and it started moving down. There's a break of the orange down channel, test the low, pushes up, break, test the high. Now it looks like it's one leg down, push up, and the second leg down, bounces here. Now I was already suspecting there's some kind of support here. I just wasn't really sure if it's defined by this low, or one of these guys, but this is a little region, a support region, not definitively a line, or not exactly a line, but at least like maybe a 2-point support region. So it pushes up really strongly and prices start accelerating, or not accelerating, but it starts moving faster because you can see the timestamp 649 and this is like 612, excuse me, 712. And I call this area a fast choppy area because as I was watching it, these candles are just like getting really noisy, oscillating as they're closing. So it just kind of, I put it down here just to remind me, okay, if I saw something later in hindsight, the reason that I didn't take it was because I was, well, frankly, kind of afraid what was going on. It was just happening too fast for me. So it breaks out of this top of the range, hits this own consolidation area. I really wanted this candle to be a good entry, except it had this really long tail. If it just closed right here without this long tail, then I think it would have been a viable trade because it would have break of the green up channel, test the high, second entry long failure. If it closed right here, there'd be enough room to scalp out inside this mini range, but unfortunately it didn't do that. And it starts moving down this orange down channel, break, pushes to a low. So when it broke and tested the low, I was wondering if it was going to push back up or would this gray range be valid and it continued to visit the low side. So as I started chopping sideways in this fast choppy area, I thought there might have been like kind of like a drop and in a channel here, kind of like similar to a spike in a channel. It's like a sharp sell-off in the channel. They kind of fit, but the size of these candles, the size of the wicks kind of made me extra cautious. Then it reverses up. So it finds this double bottom, pushes up, break, test the high. Saw this as a new low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short, the wrong signal bar color, and then pushes back down. you clearly have a triple test. And even in real time, I see this, and I'm thinking there's a sub range here inside this bigger range, but I'm ultimately thinking it's going to move back down to this other side and maybe create a corresponding failed breakout on this side. So it pushes down, there's a triple test, it starts reversing up. I saw this and I only marked it after I saw this big candle push down. And there's really no way for me to anticipate or take a trade here because this is a doji bar. And it's just, again, in this fast, choppy area. It bounces, so now I'm thinking prices could be in play in this little range before it ultimately makes it down here. So I'm kind of bearish biased. So I'm looking for a good setup right around this high of this purple range to try to go short with the expectation that it'll push down to here. But ideally, the entry I want it to be pretty close to the high side, so I have enough room before I have to worry about hitting this low side of this range. But it kind of doesn't do that for me. It just kind of breaks and continues down. Hits this low side. Now, this is the fail breakout I'm looking at. This also looks like a measured move. So it looks like it's one leg down, push up, and the second leg's kind of defined. See if I can move it over about right here. So it comes down, makes a measured move, starts reversing back up. I'm expecting prices now with this big push to make two legs up to visit this high side. So I'm looking for, this is a higher low here. I'm looking for a failed second entry short. You kind of get a failed second entry short right here, but I really wanted this to be a green signal bar. Now I'm looking for a lower, higher low, and the higher low does show up here, but I was confused because, again, this is a quick choppy area. If you look at the timestamp, there's only 2 minutes. It already provided this many candles. Not only did it provide this many candles, I was thinking this up has tested the high. Entering here feels risky. I'm looking for a pullback, even though this is a first entry short, second entry short, higher low. This higher low has actually exceeded the local high. So this higher low is pretty aggressive because this higher low, ideally I wanted it actually a little bit lower and not have broken this high here. But since it did, you could argue there's clear skies above till maybe this resistance comes into play. But I also saw it as potentially it has tested the high of this little channel here. It could pull back. So I wasn't really sure. I wanted to just kind of sit back and hope for a better setup. Pushes and it pushes up to the high. It actually sets up for my one and only trade. So it pushes to the high side. I decided that looks like it's a spike and a shallow channel up. So it looks like it's fitting pretty well both on the high side and the low side of this orange up channel. It hits this high side, it breaks out. Now I'm looking for a reason to go short, and the only reason I can think of is this range is pretty well defined at this point. I'm looking for a decent setup. I find a decent signal bar. It did break above and then flush down. So when I saw this, I was thinking this looks like it's at least going to give me my quick 6-tick scalp to push down and through. So I entered one tick below this guy, flushes down, gets the fill. If I didn't get filled on this candle, the same one that I entered, then this candle would have done it for me. And my stop was above this guy. So if I was going for more, and let's say this candle didn't do it, I'd eventually get the trade here. So now it's pushing up, breaking, chops. I drew this trend line after I saw this trend line. So I actually drew this one first because I thought, oh, there's some kind of resistance here. Expanded it to here, but I didn't really trust it that much, so I never colored it in. Breaks out to the high side. So now I'm thinking, is this range no longer in play? Looks like there's a really strong decisive push up. It could be one big leg pullback in a second gigantic leg going up. So now I'm just watching and waiting. It's far from the EMA. The EMA is starting to show a trend. It fits and confirms this transparent channel that I'm cycling colors through right now, but it doesn't have good confirmation on the low side. And when it's pushing up like this, I'm reluctant to take a short when the bias is long. So I need another confirmation of this low side of this trend. So it'd be pretty much a 3-touch. You could argue there's a 3-touch here, 1-touch, 2-touch, 3-touch, but I technically want a 4th touch. But I counted this as together, so it's 1, 2, 3. And I feel stronger about the trade going up. Now, you could argue that, yes, there is a resistance up here, but I felt like going short felt like it'd be counter trend. Well, it would be counter trend. It was a new high, first entry long. You technically have a second entry long here, but it's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And then afterwards, it breaks and tests the new high, pushes down, chops down. I thought it might have been in range here, but then it continues upwards. Continues upwards, comes back down. I'm watching this carefully now. I'm looking for a bounce off of this and a decisively clean setup. There's one localized high here. It's first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but it also looks like it's just moving down on one big leg. But I'm really keying in on what's going to happen when it hits here. So it hits here, it breaks through, and unfortunately, it doesn't show a positive bullish reaction. It continues. So now I'm just not thinking of taking any trade or taking a trade that if it shows up, I need a little bit more clarity. Pushes down. I expand this orange down channel to something like this, but now it doesn't fit all that well, so I'm not the biggest fan of it. Pushes up. Localized low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short, and gives you a triple test. So technically you have a one touch, two touch, three, four, but I saw it's like, maybe there's one, and this is kind of like one or two, and then three. So I call it a triple test, a failed second entry long, but I call it an almost setup because prices are working really hard testing this. So this failure might be pushing down to here, but I felt it was a little early. And with this, it looks like it could have been in its own mini range. So I'm just not super clear. I'll put the range in this purple of what's going to happen. And I don't want to take a short into this potential support area. Pushes down, bounces. And I thought maybe it's in this bigger blue range. Pushes out, potentially a fail breakout. First entry long, technically you have a second entry long here, but this second entry long is actually inside this bar. So that just makes me a little nervous because whenever I see an inside bar, it's almost like there's a mini range developing. And in that mini range, if it's an inside bar, if I take a trade here on a, let's say, a 100 tick chart or a 500 tick chart, this could be a several candles. And it looks like it's, this tiny 2 candle range. I could be buying right at the high. So just a little more cautious. I want to see a break below here, or at least a break above this guy, but not an inside bar like this. So it pushes down, drops around, hits this support area. Now I don't think this blue range is all that important. It does bounce and react off of here. So this gray range could be in play because there's only a two-touch confirmation on the high side. Low side, there is a kind of a range, a little zone of support. Either it's defined by this or this lower bar. Nevertheless, prices seem to be kind of reacting to this little area here that's about, I don't know, 3 points large. Pushes the high side, again bounces, hits this gray zone again, hops around, pushes up. It's a little confusing now because it looks like it's just chopping sideways. Hard to define which range it's really respecting. Only that this gray area here seems to be a support that it's having trouble breaking through. But this gray support line feels like it's getting weaker every time because it's making lower lows every time. Every time it tries to recover and push to the high side, it's not making it as high as the previous. And then finally it breaks through. There's no trade for me there. Pushes down. There's no real clean second entries. Pushes down. It hits this consolidation area. You could find second entries, technical second entries in here, both for the long side and the short side, but this is just very tight, congested trading. Pushes up, pushes down, localized highs, a first entry long pullback. Technically, your second entry long is right here. But it looks like it's a one attempt pullback, and then maybe the second attempt here. I marked it with an arrow here just because I thought I was thinking maybe there's a trade here, but in real time, what I'm seeing is the only nice thing about this is a great looking signal bar. Great looking signal bar buying into this resistance when the EMA here is starting to show a little bit of bias that its prices are moving down. So it just felt really dicey. So this is just kind of like a note that, well, it wasn't the best setup. I was tempted, but not strong enough to, pull the trigger. Pushes down. I'm thinking it's moving down this clear channel here that I'm just kind of cycling colors through. I initially had one tighter drawn from here down, but it broke, continued moving. So I tried to find a bigger channel, which is this guy, but it never really panned out. So I left it transparent, and then it looked like it fit a little bit better this orange down channel because they're both on the high side and low side. But again, no setups, no clean setups that I particularly like show up. It's a localized low. So first entry short, technically I have a second entry short, but it just doesn't look like there's any good setups here. I initially thought maybe the trading range is here. And then right before I started, well, not right before, but later I dragged it down, but it looks like it actually fits better here. So say 2 legs up and then pull back. That's pushing back up. So it's like an overshoot here, looking for an overshoot here, but it doesn't. It shows up. It actually gives you a possible trade that I ended up not taking. Since I started the video, it looked like it was, I don't know if some news came out, but there's a fail breakout here. It looks like it's 2 legs down. First entry long pullback, second entry long. I had this drawn as a trend line, and then later I turned it into a channel, but the channel could be a little bit tighter. The high side, I'm not as concerned about because it's not a well-defined channel, but at least the low side looks like there's some kind of support. It does look like 2 clean legs down, breaking out of this range. So it's like second entry long with a failed breakout, pullback with an EMA, kind of an EMA acting support bounce. Now, the last key entry point would have been this trend line going up, but it's not as strong as a key entry point as the other two factors of its second entry long. I like that it went down below this guy, engulfed the 2 previous candles and closed near the high and with enough room for 6-tick scalp. So I thought this was a possible trade. I didn't take it though, unfortunately. Pushes up, first entry long, and then it pushes down on this orange down channel. And this is all new stuff that I haven't really looked at that carefully since I started the video. But I think there's probably some kind of range here. And it's hitting the high side. Looks like it's 1 leg, 2 attempts up. And I'm thinking maybe it's going to create another second big leg about the same size as this starting here going down. But it is pressing the new lows of the day. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but I'm not going to stick around and find out. Just going to finish this up and then go do something else. So hopefully that was helpful.